Stories of ships stuffed with treasure from an era long ago rarely live up to the hype.
Lost more than 3 centuries has broken out this morning after analysts confirmed the identity of the sunken Spanish galleon San José, known as the world's richest shipwreck.
Beneath the waves off Cartagena lies a shipwreck worth more than $17 billion. The San José galleon, a warship turned underwater vault.
Loading gold brought up from the west coast of South America, and it was there for a very long period of time, so it stored a lot of gold.
Loaded with gold, emeralds, and secrets of empire, its discovery has ignited lawsuits, legends, and whispers of hidden scrolls that could rewrite history.
But there's a case, a treasure find off the coast of Colombia, a ship called the San José, and it speaks eloquently to what happens when governments.
But the real shock isn't just the treasure or the politics. It's what divers say they uncovered sealed in crates, something no one expected to find after 3 centuries. The $17 billion mystery ship. In the summer of 2023, Colombia confirmed what many thought was lost to legend. The San José galleon, the so-called Holy Grail of shipwrecks.
Very close to the wreckage of the Spanish galleon San José, which historians described as the Holy Grail of shipwrecks.
Was no longer a whisper on old maps. It was real, and it was loaded. Back in 1708, this Spanish warship exploded and vanished beneath the waves off Cartagena's coast, taking with it one of the largest treasure hauls in recorded history. We're talking about more than 11 million gold coins, chests of emeralds, and priceless relics ripped from South America's colonial mines. Today, the estimated value of what's down there? Over $17 billion, and that's without accounting for the historical artifacts. But this isn't just about treasure. The San José was a floating vault, packed with not just wealth, but war secrets, diplomatic orders, and encrypted messages meant for the Spanish crown. British intelligence at the time even believed it carried coded plans from France and Spain, outlining their next military campaign during the War of the Spanish Succession. And then there's the ship itself, a 62-gun galleon, part of the infamous Silver Fleet. More fortress than freighter, the San José wasn't going down without a fight.
But it ran into a British warship, which quickly sank the San José. Nearly all of the 600 people on board died.
Yet, during a heated naval clash with the British, a direct hit to its powder magazine sent the entire vessel into a fireball, raining splintered timber and cannon iron into the sea. Survivors from the British fleet described the explosion as so massive, it lit the horizon like a burning cathedral. But even after the wreck was first detected in 2015, Colombia kept the coordinates classified for years. Why the secrecy? Some suspect the government began extracting artifacts before the world caught wind.
This coin here was made in Bogota, Colombia. So it's a Colombian gold.
And that theory gained weight when whispers began circulating. Rumors of certain items being pulled before any official footage aired, including one sealed crate marked with a royal insignia. And just when you think this is a cut-and-dry case of treasure recovery, the international chaos kicked in. Spain rushed forward with claims of sovereign ownership. Colombia countered, saying it lies in their territorial waters. And then Bolivia's Cara nation stepped in, arguing the silver came from mines where their ancestors were forced into brutal labor. The legal fight now stretches across 3 continents. But the real twist? This isn't just about what the ship carried. It's about what the divers found when they finally reached the wreck. And what they found wasn't just gold. What divers actually found. When Colombia's naval archaeological team descended 600 meters to the wreck of the San José,
a team of international experts, the Colombian Navy and the country's Archaeological Institute discovered the wreckage last week near the island of Baru.
they weren't just chasing gold, but even the most seasoned divers couldn't have predicted what lay beneath centuries of silt and salt water. The first shock? The ship was eerily intact. Unlike most wooden wrecks that crumble into fragments, the San José had been preserved like a sealed tomb, thanks to low oxygen, deep pressure, and a thick blanket of sediment. And yes, gold coins were there, glinting faintly beneath coral growth. But scattered between the treasure were artifacts that told a much bigger story.
Stories of ships stuffed with treasure from an era long ago rarely live up to the hype. But as Wendy Urquhart now reports, this true story about a Spanish galleon laden with real treasure.
Chinese porcelain vases with Kangxi markings, blue and white ceramics traced back to Jingdezhen, the same city that once supplied emperors. That raised eyebrows fast, because while the San José was Spanish, its cargo held the fingerprints of global trade. Historians quickly traced the likely route. Chinese goods sent to Manila, loaded onto galleons in Acapulco, shipped across New Spain, and packed aboard the San José for its return to Europe. This wasn't just a warship, it was a floating connection between 4 continents. Then came the silks. Some bore Arabic inscriptions, evidence of trade reaching as far as the Middle East. A few fragments even carried faint dye patterns resembling Persian motifs, hinting at cargo that crossed empires before sinking into silence. But not everything was about trade. Personal items recovered told of lives cut short. A gold rosary still clasped in a corroded hand, a leather pouch with a rusted compass inside, and a diary so damaged it barely held together. Nearby, skeletal remains lay within twisted beams, silent witnesses to that fiery night in 1708. Forensic reports later suggested one body was likely of African descent, a stark reminder of the forced labor that powered Spain's empire at sea. Then came the sealed crates, still unopened. One bore a lead stamp of the Spanish crown. Another was found locked with brass hinges and reinforced with lead strapping. In leaked RO footage, divers spotted what looked like tightly wrapped oilskin bundles stacked inside. Could these be the same classified dispatches mentioned in British reports? Orders for troop movements? Secret intelligence between Madrid and the colonies? We don't know. Not yet. But when the government suddenly restricted access to all underwater footage, things got murky. A few anonymous sources claim to have seen metallic objects of unknown shape and oilskin scrolls with cipher marks. Officially, no comment. Unofficially, the San José had just gone from a treasure wreck to something far deeper. Secrets in the sand. Gold and porcelain were just the start. What really changed the story of the San José came from beneath the sand. The parts of the ship untouched by time, pressure, or even curious hands. Tucked deep within the ship's hull, past collapsed beams and sediment-choked passageways, were compartments that had never been opened. Hidden behind what appeared to be a secondary bulkhead, these sealed sections had remained undisturbed for over 3 centuries. Reinforced crates lined the space, wooden boxes rimmed with brass, astonishingly well preserved. Using a small submersible-mounted probe, the team scanned the area and made a disturbing discovery. Some crates triggered metal detectors, not for gold or silver, but for non-ferrous metals like lead or platinum.
At exactly what was on board the San José, which was en route to Spain with a cargo of gold, silver and other priceless items.
Unusual, considering these materials weren't typically listed on treasure manifests. And then, things got stranger. Among the crates, divers recovered several oilskin-wrapped scrolls. Most were too damaged to save, but a few had survived just enough to catch the attention of international analysts. Faint markings, strange symbols, and signature lines written in a cipher. Not just faded ink, but encrypted communication. Historians familiar with Spanish Crown military code believe these could be dispatches sent from New Spain to Madrid, never meant to fall into enemy hands. One deciphered fragment referenced El Norte Anglo, likely a nod to English forces operating in the Caribbean. That single phrase has ignited a new investigation in Spanish royal archives, with experts combing through 17th century intelligence records for a possible match. But it wasn't just the scrolls that raised questions. The entire area looked staged, crates stacked methodically, none waterlogged, some even sealed with wax. This wasn't accidental preservation, it looked deliberate, which leads to a theory that's been gaining traction, that these sealed compartments weren't for treasure, they were for secrets, possibly scientific instruments, possibly prototypes, or maybe they were just decoys. Some naval historians suggest Spain often packed fake treasure chests to confuse pirates and enemy navies. It was misdirection by design. Then there's the whisper spreading fast. A second ship, launched days before the San José, carried the real treasure under royal escort, slipping into the Pacific unseen. And the San José? A sacrificial decoy meant to explode and distract. Far-fetched? Maybe. But the missing emerald crates and half-accounted gold have experts looking twice. Because if what's in those crates proves to be war plans, coded tech, or relics that rewrite the story of Spanish conquest, then the San José is more than a sunken galleon. It's a ticking time bomb of unfinished history, deep-sea technology that made it possible. If the San José was hiding secrets, it took some of the most advanced tech on Earth to even get close. 600 meters below the surface isn't just deep, it's crushing, pitch black, and dangerous. But that's exactly where the Colombian recovery team had to go. And what they brought with them? It was the kind of gear you'd expect on a space mission. The backbone of the entire operation was a fleet of Remus 6000 autonomous underwater vehicles, the same class of robot that helped locate Air France Flight 447. These machines don't need tethers or human pilots.
I think the most challenging element was totally getting a full grasp of the spatial awareness that you need to be when you are subsea.
They dive on their own, map everything with sonar, and can operate for days without surfacing. For the San José, they scanned every inch of the seafloor, generating high-resolution 3D models so precise that archaeologists could plan their moves before a single diver touched the wreck. But that was just the start. The team also used multispectral imaging, technology that captures different wavelengths of light, revealing materials invisible to the naked eye. That's how they spotted silk buried in silt. That's how they noticed scrolls that looked like shadows. Without this tech, half the discoveries would have been missed. One of the strangest findings came from this process. A cannon was found lying sideways beneath a collapsed section of deck. No battle damage, no signs of impact. Analysis showed the break came from inside the ship, hinting at something darker, an internal explosion, possibly deliberate. A blast from the powder magazine, the same explosion British sailors described as lighting up the sea like fire from below. But now, the pattern suggests it may have started inside the hull, before the enemy fired. To handle the most delicate artifacts, ROVs, remotely operated vehicles, were outfitted with surgical suction tools. No clumsy grabbing, no scraping or shifting.
New technology has made it possible to get a much closer look at exactly what was on board the San José.
Items were gently lifted from the seabed using low-pressure vacuums, then sealed inside controlled capsules to prevent rapid decay. And because GPS doesn't work at that depth, engineers built an acoustic grid, a sonar-based tracking system that let them navigate in complete darkness. Every artifact tagged, every movement tracked, nothing left to chance. All this happened while political tension flared above. Legal teams watched every move. Cultural watchdogs demanded transparency.
Yeah, so it is already a long legal fight, but experts say, listen, possession is 9/10 of the law, right?
The entire recovery was filmed, time-stamped, and cataloged. not just to protect history, but to prove that nothing was taken in secret. Now Colombia says it wants to turn the wreck into a virtual exhibit. Using the same tech that mapped the ship, they're building a VR experience that could let anyone walk through the sunken San José from their living room. But before that happens, one last question remains. Who actually owns what was found? Preservation, politics, and the public. The moment the San José became official, it stopped being just a wreck. It became a battlefield, not of cannon fire, but of lawyers, governments, and ancestral claims. Because pulling a ship out of the deep is one thing, deciding who gets to keep it, that's where things get messy. Colombia was quick to celebrate. The government unveiled blueprints for a massive maritime museum in Cartagena, featuring interactive exhibits, bronze cannon displays, and holograms of the ship in her prime. It was more than a plan. It was a declaration that this treasure belonged to them. But not everyone agreed. Spain fired back first.
The identity of the sunken Spanish galleon San José, known as the world's richest shipwreck,
citing international maritime law. Under the UNESCO Convention on the Protection of Underwater Cultural Heritage, sunken warships remain the property of their country of origin, unless formally abandoned. Spain says the San José was never abandoned. It was sunk in battle, and therefore still theirs. Then Bolivia entered the ring, specifically the Caracara people, descendants of those forced to mine the silver and gold loaded onto that ship. Their argument? The treasure wasn't Spanish. It was stolen from their land, their blood, their ancestors. And now, more than 3 centuries later, it should come home, not to Madrid or Bogota, but to the Andean highlands where it was ripped from the earth. And just when things couldn't get more tangled, an old name re-emerged. Sea Search Armada, a US-based treasure hunting firm that claims it actually found the wreck back in the 1980s. SSA says it signed a deal with Colombia's previous government, entitling it to 50% of the treasure. Colombia says the deal is null and void.
The Colombian Navy has discovered 2 historical boats near the Caribbean port of Cartagena, very close to the wreckage of the Spanish galleon San José.
And besides, they say SSA identified the wrong wreck. That standoff is still in court. Meanwhile, scientists are warning that all this legal drama is putting the wreck at risk. The longer things stay stalled, the higher the chance of damage, not just from nature, but from opportunists. UNESCO has already cautioned against moving any more items until the ownership disputes are resolved. And there's tension within Colombia too. Some view the San José as a national triumph. Others see it as a distraction, a shiny object in a country grappling with inequality, corruption, and more urgent needs. Every press release about gold coins is met with criticism.
This coin here was made in Bogota, Colombia. So it's a Colombian gold.
From citizens asking if they'll ever see that treasure benefit the people. Science, shipworms, and the race against time. For all the talk of gold and politics, the San José faces a quieter, deadlier enemy. Time itself. At 600 meters, the ship was shielded from many threats. But the moment recovery began, the clock started ticking. Expose ancient wood to air, and it dries, cracks, and crumbles. Lift metal from salt water, and corrosion speeds up. Even porcelain can fracture as salt crystals expand within its glaze. Every artifact pulled from the deep is in a race against invisible forces. Then there are the shipworms. Not worms at all, but tiny mollusks that eat wood. Normally, they thrive in shallower waters, but scientists have found evidence that climate change is pushing them deeper. If temperatures continue to rise, shipworms could eventually reach the San José's level, threatening the wreck itself before recovery is complete. To fight back, conservation labs in Bogota and Cartagena are experimenting with new preservation methods. One involves submerging artifacts in desalination baths for months, slowly drawing out salt. Another uses polyethylene glycol, the same chemical NASA once used to preserve spacecraft parts, to stabilize fragile wood. It's a painstaking process, but without it, centuries-old history could vanish in weeks. And there's a financial clock ticking too. Maintaining deep-sea operations, conservation labs, and security for the wreck costs millions every year. Colombia has quietly admitted that funding is stretched thin. Some officials have floated the idea of private partnerships, but critics fear that could open the door to commercial exploitation, turning heritage into merchandise.
San Jose would have carried gold, would have carried silver from the mines of Potosi.
Meanwhile, international scientists are calling for a digital safeguard, high-resolution 3D scans of every artifact and structure, creating a permanent record even if the originals degrade. The Colombian team has already scanned sections of the hull and a handful of cannons, but digitizing the entire wreck is a massive undertaking that could take years. And as all of this unfolds, one sobering truth lingers. Even with today's tech, some parts of the San Jose may never be raised. The hull is massive, fragile, and fused with the seabed. To pull it all up intact would risk shattering it completely. Which means, in the end, the greatest treasure of the San Jose might not be gold or emeralds, but knowledge. Knowledge locked in wood, metal, and silt, waiting for science to preserve it before the ocean swallows it again. Was it truly sunk by enemy fire, or was it sacrificed as a decoy? And most importantly, who should the past really belong to? Subscribe now and share your thoughts below. The debate is only just beginning.